Hello and welcome back, students, to the channel 1 Marks Solutions. I hope you're all doing well and have been watching all the videos we have put up of the different chapters for helping you do well in your exams. Today, we are going to do the second part of the Class 6 chapter, Who Did Patrick's Homework? This is the first chapter in your NCERT textbook. So let us move on. This is a presentation from 1 Marks Solution. And if you like the presentation and the videos and you find it helpful, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We are going to discuss some more questions from this lesson, 1 Marks Solution, on this channel. I am Mrs. Jabeen and I'll be taking up this second session too. Let us move on. Those who haven't watched the first session, please do watch the first session. You will get some MCQs related to the chapter, which will help you do well in your exams. Now, today we are going to deal with some reference to context questions. Now, these are some type of questions that you get in your exams. A reference to context is nothing but an extract or a few lines given from the chapter. And you get a few questions that you must answer related to this extract. Okay, lines can be picked up from anywhere in the chapter. You have to read the chapter thoroughly to be able to answer the questions properly. So let us do the first reference to context here. The reference to context is this: it wasn't a doll at all, but a man of the tiniest size. He had a little wool shirt with old-fashioned breeches and a high, tall hat, much like a witch's. He yelled, "Save me! Don't give me back to the cat! I will grant you a wish. I promise you that." These are some lines taken up from the chapter, Who Did Patrick's Homework? Now, the first question related to the extract is, he who yelled was a doll, a cat, a person, an elf. Now, if you look at the extract, we are told that it wasn't a doll at all, but a man of the tiniest size. Okay, so he wasn't a person, it wasn't a human being. So tiny, you can't have a human being. It wasn't a cat, it wasn't a doll because a doll doesn't speak. So the correct answer is an elf. Now, those who have watched the first session will know that I explained what an elf is. An elf is a mythical or a magical creature. Creatures of very small size, and they are supposed to be having some magical powers, and they grant wishes to people. Okay, so it was an elf. There. Moving on to the second question from the same extract. He yelled because he feared a cat, a doll, Patrick, a man. Now, what does the word feared mean? The word feared means he was scared of or he was afraid of. Now, if you remember the chapter, and as I summarized in the first session, this particular elf, this tiny man, was being played with by a cat. And it was so tiny that it was afraid that the cat would harm him. So, option A, cat, is correct. He yelled, he shouted. Okay, yelled means to shout out. Okay, he shouted because he was afraid of a cat. That is the correct answer. Moving on to the next question from this extract. His dress was black, white, fashionable, out of fashion. Now look at this extract here. We are told he had a little wool shirt with old-fashioned breeches and a high, tall hat, much like a witch's. Okay, so the word we are looking at here is old-fashioned. Okay, he wore an old-fashioned dress. So you can all guess that the answer that is correct here is out of fashion. D, out of fashion. That is the correct answer. Moving on to the next question from the same extract. According to the passage, a witch's hat is. Now, most of you would have seen witches in some TV series or something, okay? And you always see in cartoons and all, we are shown that the witch wears a high pointed hat. So here we are told that the elf had a high tall hat, much like a witch's. So according to the passage, a witch's hat is high. That is the correct answer as per the passage. Okay. Now, moving on to the fifth question from the same extract. He was making a promise too. Now, the elf was being played with very roughly by the cat. It was scared. It was shouting out, yelling out to be saved, and it is making a wish, a promise. Now, if you have watched the first session, you will know that the wish was granted to Patrik. It was Patrik's cat which was playing with the doll, and Patrik saw this cat playing with what he thought was a doll, but it wasn't a doll. Instead, it was a tiny man who was asking to be saved. So the correct answer is Patrik. That was the fifth question from this reference to context. I hope you're all getting a hang of how to answer the reference to context. Most of the answers are there in the extract itself. You just need to read them carefully and you'll get the answers. There is nothing to worry about answering reference to extract questions. Now, we have the second extract. And true to his word, that little elf began to do Patrik's homework. Except there was one glitch. The elf did not always know what to do, and he needed help. Help me, he would say. And Patrik would have to help in whatever way. Now, if you all remember your chapter and have watched the first session, you will realize that an elf is a mythical or a magical creature. Elves do not live in the human world. They live in the human world, but they have their own studies, they have their own culture and their own customs and their own traditions. So they do not know much about human history or anything to do with human customs, human history, human science, human maths. This is something they do not know. Okay, so the elf would ask for help. Now the first question we have here is, the little elf was doing Patrik's homework because he liked it, he wanted to learn. It was what the witch had asked him to do. It was a part of his agreement with Patrik. Okay, so now how do we know what the correct answer is? We look at the extract again. And true to his word, that little elf began to do Patrik's homework. True to his word. This means you are keeping up your promise. You are keeping a promise you have made. This is also a phrase that is very often used. So when you say you're true to your word, it means you keep your promise. So from these four options, the most appropriate option is this. It was a part of his agreement with Patrik. He had promised Patrik a wish. He had granted Patrik a wish, and the wish was to help him do his homework. So option D, it was part of his agreement with Patrik, is the right answer. The second question from the same extract. The elf asked for Patrik's help because this was an agreement. The elf really needed it. Patrik knew everything. The elf wanted to trouble him. This is the similar question asked in a different manner for you to, get it right again. Again, the same thing. True to his word is the key word here. So, and this is the next thing you have to see. There was one glitch. The elf did not always know what to do and he needed help. Like I told you, he helped Patrik, but he did not know what to do. And so he really needed the help. So option B is the right answer. The elf really needed it because he really didn't know what to do always. Okay, so option B is the right answer. There. The third question from the same extract, the phrase in whatever way implies that Patrick helped. Now, this phrase again, what do you think it means? In whatever way. Implies means suggests. Okay? That Patrick helped the way he liked, very willingly, in an ideal manner, or the way the elf wanted. Now, who asked for help? It was the elf. Okay, and Patrick had to help the elf in whichever way the elf wanted him to help. If it was help for English, Patrick had to do the English research and tell the elf. If it was human history, Patrick had to study human history and tell the elf. Then only the elf would do the homework. So option D, the way the elf wanted, is the right answer. Moving on, the fourth question from the same extract. In helping the elf do the homework, Patrick did not learn anything, learnt a lot, was very happy, was idle. Now, like I told you earlier, Patrick was helping the elf do the homework. No doubt the elf was writing down everything. But who was giving him the material to write? It was Patrick, whether it was spellings, whether it was human history, whether it was mathematical calculations, everything Patrick had to tell, and the elf just wrote it down. So, in helping the elf do the homework, obviously Patrick learned a lot. He learned a lot because he was the one who was doing all the research, studying everything, and then telling it to the elf to write down. So he learnt a lot. That is the right option. Then, question number 5 from the same reference to context. The word glitch in the passage means a small problem, a great difficulty, a point, a situation. Now, this is a vocabulary question, so you can get the answer again from the reference only. You have to guess. Sometimes you don't know the meanings of all words, so you need to guess from the clues that are given in the paragraph itself. Okay, so here we are told he began to do Patrick's homework. Now, this word except tells us that there was some problem. Okay, there was one glitch. Okay, this word except tells us that everything was not going smoothly. So when everything is not going smoothly, it means there are some problems. So the answer that you will select here is that there was a small problem. Okay, now let us move on to the next reference to context. We have another extract. This extract comes almost at the end of the chapter. Okay, after the elf does the homework and Patrick helps him do his homework. So this is the extract. Patrick got his A's. His classmates were amazed. His teachers smiled and were full of praise. And his parents? They wondered what had happened to Patrick. He was now the model kid. This is your reference. Now, there are again some questions related to this. So the first question is, Patrick's A's made his classmates amazed because never before had Patrick shown how hard he could work. He had never got good marks, and they never expected Patrick to get good marks. Okay, so the option here which is correct is they never expected it, because Patrick never used to work hard. He was lazy. He believed that he could spend his time better by just playing games. It was only when he started helping the elf that he started learning things, and he did really well in his exams. So everybody was shocked because they did not expect Patrick to have done so well. Okay, now let us look at the second question. From the same extract, the teachers were happy and full of praise because they were friends of Patrick's family. They were hopeful of Patrick's brilliant success. Patrick had done so well. They knew what the elf had done. So, the option that is right here is they were happy because Patrick had done so well. We get the answer here. Patrick got his A's. So his classmates were amazed because they didn't expect it. His teachers smiled and were full of praise because he had done so well. So Option C is the right answer. Then, moving on, we have the third question. The parents wondered at Patrick's A's, the change in Patrick, the amazement of his classmates, or his teacher's praise. Now, here also the answer is there directly in the extract. They wondered what had happened to Patrick. He was now the model kid. Now, when Patrick started helping the elf to do the homework, his habits also changed. He became a clean and neat boy. He kept his room very tidy. He worked really hard. He did not play games because he had so much to do to help the elf do the homework. He had almost become a model kid. So, his parents were also amazed. They wondered what had happened to him. So, the answer here is the change in Patrick. Option B is the right answer. Moving on, we have question number 4. Patrick became a model kid because of the elf, his teachers, his parents, or his own hard work. Now, this also is pretty easy if you have read the chapter and understood. He had to help the elf. He had to work really hard to help the elf. Okay? His teachers kept on telling him to work hard. But then it was not, he didn't listen only to them and do. Neither did he only listen to his parents and do. It was because of his own hard work, which he did to help the elf, that he became a model kid. So, option D, his own hard work, is the right answer. Then, moving on to the fifth question from extract 3. The word which means the opposite of model. Model, if you look at the extract, you will understand that Patrick had almost become a perfect kid. He studied well, he worked hard, he kept his room clean, he was obedient, he did everything everybody asked him to do. So, the word model means almost perfect. So, the opposite of this word we have to find. Now, ancient cannot be the opposite of perfect. Okay. Bad also cannot be the opposite of perfect. Bad is the opposite of good. Modern is the opposite of ancient. So the only word we are left with is flawed. Flawed means to have, to not be perfect. Okay, flawed is not to be perfect. So the answer that we have to select here is flawed. Remember, whenever you are doing vocabulary questions, it is not possible for everyone to know all the meanings. So you try and cut off words which you know and then guess at the word which you do not know and which might be the answer. Okay, so if you do it in this way, you will never go wrong. All right. So this was the last question from this particular session. I hope, students, that you have understood the chapter and have understood how to go about answering the questions. And if you did like this session, please do subscribe to the channel, okay, and share it with your friends also so that they can also benefit from this session. And we do thank all the people who have been contributing by giving us the material to make this session a success. So thank you and all the best, children. See you again some time later in the next session.